for me, architecture starts with a heavy, very heavy responsibility of, shaping the world. Because of the lack of architects who are practicing the vernacular architecture, I think we are left with no other option but to go forward with those concrete houses. When we are looking at such traditional vernacular architecture, there is no other way. You have to jump into it, you have to build with it. From my perspective, it's very tough for us to recreate the exact same temples and that heritage buildings, but definitely we have to preserve them. For me, in this journey, the first lesson, or one of the most important lesson, was to earn people rather than focusing on earning money. We wanted to break some myths which were associated with natural building. This is what an architect should do in the life, that they should kind of learn from their context. They should go back to their roots.
Warm good morning from the Architect's Diary. I'm Architect Simran Khare, co-editor at the Architect's Diary. Today, we have with us Rahul Bhushan, the founder of North, an architecture firm engaged in vernacular architecture and reviving the traditional Kath Kuni houses of the hills. Rahul Bhushan is an unshakable optimist and visionary, born and brought up in Himachal. He is an architect, holds a passion for art and design, an author, educator, and an activist working closely in his homeland to empower the local communities. He is the one who conceptualized and founded North and runs the organization as its creative director. The firm is doing an exceptional job with its various initiatives by providing artist residences, vernacular architecture, restoration of Kath Kuni houses, etc. It's an honor to have you today. And without further ado, let us begin with an insightful presentation by Rahul Bhushan, followed by an interesting interview where we delve into the untold stories of your journey. I hand over the
Thank you.
stage to you.
Thank you, Simran. Um, so shall we directly start with the presentation
Sure,
now?
sure, sure. We can. Yes.
I think like my presentation today is about not just about the architectural techniques and directly not jumping into the architecture bit, because what I think is that for us to have a voice of our own as an architect, designer, or as an artist, I think the most important thing is to kind of have experiences which will form our voices, practical learnings, uh, gaining the skills through different type of collaborations, and really understanding the context, the environment, the culture, and the people for which we are trying to build. And for me, architecture starts with a heavy, very heavy responsibility of shaping the world for people to live in, for cities to be built, for the quality of life that we as human beings can achieve. And the lessons from the past can definitely be a strong foundation for us to grow in this field. So today's presentation, I would take you through the context, then towards understanding these fundamentals, and giving back to the community finally through the talents or the creative energies we have. So the first thing is like, why, we often ask all the budding architects, that why are you looking to become an architect or a designer? And for me, that answer uh, kind of came after my masters, during my masters, when I thought that, when I'm studying architecture, I felt that I was moving towards something where, as a very introvert kid, I was always absorbing a lot of different things. And then I felt that, okay, this is something which I can really give back to the world, and something which I felt that gave me more power towards feeling more, let's say, secure, and something which I could have really. So it gave me that confidence in my life. And I kind of then flowed in the same rhythm of one step at a time, learning more and more every day, and then kind of reflecting that back through experimentations. So, this is not something which I feel that, okay, like a profession or a job. This is something I want my life to be dedicated towards, like a purpose. And that purpose gives you strength, gives you motivation towards working. And uh, this is our heritage, like India as a country has a lot of different cultures, a lot of different contexts. Like we have deserts and we have mountains, we have plains and we have sea, ocean. So all these different cultures have so much to offer, and they are ancient, and hence the indigenous wisdom that has been passed on from generation to generation is something which we really have to cherish, and holds a lot of wisdom which can definitely guide us. And then taking those lessons forward, we have to experiment, we have to innovate, we have to put our artistic kind of experimentations into picture. But that really strong foundation is needed for us to kind of create a base for us, right? So I feel a very strong responsibility towards that. I feel a very strong responsibility towards my people, my culture, and I feel that the world can really enjoy a lot of benefits from these indigenous wisdoms, and we should experiment with that and evolve that. So the context of Himachal is basically we are a small state in Western Himalayan region of India, and most of it, almost like 60% of the land, is still under the highland postures. So almost 33% of land is even above the tree lines. The one which is mostly under the glaciers and without any vegetation, and almost 27% of Himachal is like dense forest, and then 12% of it is in agriculture. So if you see that we have a lot of different lands, and when we see Himachal, I think there is a very different kind of approach that is needed in Himachal, and similarly in other rural parts of India. We can't like really think of it as a city, or as a something which the solutions which we are trying to do for a city would be very different in the mountains and in the rural parts of Himachal. We are also, because of this kind of proportions, or the percentage between the nature and the man which has been habiting over here, uh, the culture has been very different. We have been living with livestock, wildlife, a lot of different um, um, agriculture based activities are happening. Shepherds are going towards the highlands, and hence I think the culture has always grown by living with nature. So today when we are trying to find out the ways of how we can go back to nature, I think right now is something where we can learn from Himachal a lot towards environmental design. Also very unique thing about our culture is how we make our houses. It has been always in accordance to the context. It has been a response to the climate. It has been a response to the lifestyles of the mountains, to preserve and to continue those values and wisdoms. I think it is very important for us how we are looking at developing our mountain regions. And even like when we are building a house at a personal level, if we build, let's say, a thing which is out of the context. For example, we are now seeing that there are so many concrete houses that are coming in the valley. Maybe it is the aspirations, because of that we are trying to build such houses here, but uh, they are not responding to the climate and context, and that is, every common man basically knows about that. But still there are some ways of, let's say, because of the market, or because of the lack of research, or because of the lack of architects who are practicing the vernacular architecture, I think we are left with no other option but to go forward with those concrete houses. But if people realize the value of such architecture, and we have been living in such houses, our grandparents and their parents have been living here, and people know the value of these in the villages especially. But somehow we are trying, maybe losing that wisdom, uh, because of this fast paced unplanned kind of growth which is happening around us. But I think like we have some hope where we can definitely try to bring it back. As I move forward, I will definitely tell you about this. But this architecture, which is called Kath Kuni, Dhajji majorly uses wood and stone as a material, which are both local resources. And it is a response to the climate and to the needs of the people, which I feel I will show you how. But it is something that is the core value of an architecture um, uh, practice, right? It also, the people of Himachal are very unique. We have been living in small communities. You can imagine, like, small tribes or like clans which have been living on the mountains, and they have this wisdom of the knowledge of the land, and a connectedness towards the land. We know how to make our own clothes, we know how to grow our own food, and we know how to build our shelters. And when these three things combine together, that forms a really strong basis. And all the indigenous communities used to have that. They really knew their own context and landscape. But आज की time में, when we try to see and ask kids, they are getting detached from such wisdom. अगर आप किसी भी एक पुराने इंसान को पूछेंगे तो उसको सब पता होगा कि ये पेड़ की खासियत क्या है, या फिर वो जगह लैंडस्लाइड वाली है, या फिर वहाँ पे पानी से फ्लड आ सकता है, या फिर which is a proper strong rocky terrain in the mountain from where you should settle down as a village. तो ये सारी knowledge थी by observation and by practical experimentation with the land. You were connected through your activities with the land, and hence that knowledge cannot be taught theoretically. Like, उसके लिए आपको प्रैक्टिकली जाके वो चीज़ों को इम्बाइब करना पड़ेगा, स्टडी करना पड़ेगा, एंड यू हैव टू लिव थ्रू दैट काइंड ऑफ लाइफ टू अंडरस्टैंड these value systems. Not just value system, but to also gain the wisdom, and then you can start kind of sharing that through your work of either building a house, or let's say a furniture piece also. But that wisdom will then reflect in your work, which was in the ancient communities. Other very unique thing about Himachal is also the it is known as Dev Bhumi. And literally, like, if you have lived here, if you have visited here, you will feel that energy, that we are living among the gods. For us, if you ask me, our gods talk to us. They are the part of our celebrations. There are so many festivals where we that are dedicated towards them, and we have this medium, like through gur shaman, who kind of converts the language of gods, and we communicate, and we still follow that kind of a very nicely weaved community system. Because of that faith, because of that the real time uh, conversations which you have, and the guidance which you get, and the celebrations you do together, I think that forms a very nice community system. And because of that, हिमाचल में जो अभी भी wisdom था, that has gone through from so many generations and have been passed down to us. But abhi there is a little bit of a chaos that is happening, and that's why also my feeling of this urgency towards this matter is very important. That we have to preserve the local arts, crafts, and in the arts we have the language, we have the music. In the crafts we have so many different ways of, like, using the resources and bounties of nature to make your clothes, to make your chappals, to make your let's say the mandiris which you used to have, on which we used to sleep, and so many small objects. And then comes the scale of this architecture, how you live in accordance with nature. That also comes, and these things must be preserved, or else they are not just the craft and the architecture, they are carrying this kind of wisdom and the values which are very important. In Himachal, what recently is happening is we are experiencing flash floods from last 2 to 3 years. This was not happening very rapidly every year before that, but now it is almost like a yearly kind of a thing. Earthquake prone area, we are in zone 5, and that means that Himachal can have a massive earthquake at any particular time. The last earthquake, the big one, happened in 1905 in Kangra. and that had an impact all the way till Nepal. Now, if we see from that perspective, I don't know how we got so ignorant about looking at such things, that we are not even trying to see the signals of the nature. And god bless, like, we have not got the earthquake till now, but that definitely would be a big disaster, because we have not built according to that, and we have just ignorantly kind of being we are spreading this concrete jungle all around. We are cutting down the trees, and we are building in the river basins, and that should not happen. That's not the right way of like growing and developing. And if that continues, definitely the disaster will have a huge impact on humans and on the lives and people. So, I definitely feel that that balance, the line we have already crossed, but we have to get back. And then third is the landslides. Our ancestors always knew where the proper land is. We never built in an area where the land was prone to a landslide kind of a thing. And but now we are building everywhere. So that's a consequence we'll have to face. But my point is that I really want people to acknowledge it now, because once we start acknowledging, once it gets into our thought process, it will motivate right kind of actions. तो सबसे पहले थॉट चेंज करना है, थॉट को फिर प्रैक्टिस में लाके उस पे एक्ट करना है. And the philosophy of North is a little bit towards that direction as well, but we are trying to like really vocalize this, because जब तक लोगों को ये अवेयरनेस नहीं होगी, तब तक वो वो इम्पैक्ट नहीं क्रिएट हो पाएगा on a larger scale. Our people had this wisdom of living with the land, with nature and not against it. That is something which also, for me also as a person, and as an architect later, into my professional kind of creative approach towards designing, has really gave me a lot of values. That you spend your time and in an activity which is in a present. Like, we are not always rushing and thinking about the future. We are not worried about the past. We are, this is more spiritual. And I don't know if we are in Devbhumi, that's why the people are more spiritual, or it has been coded into the wisdom of the values which have been given by our ancestors. But we live with the land, we live with the resources, and we value them. It's not just about exploiting the resources. एक पुरानी कहानी थी जिसमें मेरे को बता रहे थे कि जो हमारे मिनरल्स होते हैं जो धरती के अंदर, like copper, gold, and so many crystals are present in Himachal. But you see, like, we are not really, like, locals are not really promoting कि चलो crystals को करें mine, इसको करें या metal को extract करें. क्यों? Even the hydro projects also, like, if you see, like, people are trying to oppose that कि हमारे को ज़्यादा नहीं करना है, because we have been taught कि ये सब जो हमारी नेचर है और हमारे देवी देवता हैं, उनका आभूषण है. Like, it's their jewelry in a sense. So you can't, like, like, it's basically like snatching. So उस तरह का एक हमारे को एक वैल्यू दी गई है, एंड दैट्स वाई वो बड़ा ही बैलेंस में चलता है. एंड इमेजिन नाउ, अगर अब ये वैल्यू खत्म हो जाएगी बिकॉज ऑफ द न्यू education system, or because of the new methods of like job and securing, and like, you want to earn lot money, and but your life is so well balanced. If you kind of bring that perspective again, I think then the values will be restored, and that is something really important. you know we knew how to balanced way में नेचर से कैसे ऑफरिंग्स को एक्सेप्ट करना है और क्या हमें छोड़ना है, वो हमें नॉलेज थी. तो उसी के ऊपर नॉर्थ has been founded. So I did my master's from CEPT University. Before that, I did my bachelor's from NIT Hamirpur. And I basically thought of, like, somehow, like, if I have done this research on Western Himalayan architecture, if I have spent a lot of time and passion on learning this theoretically at that time, uh, I had like two choices in my life. Either I could like just forget that, theek hai, thesis ho gaya, khatam ho gaya, and I could have taken up a job एंड लाइक जैसे हम लोग सोचते हैं कि अच्छा एक जॉब लेंगे, जॉब लेके हम थोड़ा सिक्योर करेंगे और सीखेंगे और फिर हम मे बी कुछ नया अपना करेंगे, बट आई आई फेल्ट कि मैं ऐसी जगह पे ही जाऊँ, अगर जॉब भी करूँ या किसी के पास जाके सीखना है मेरे को, तो मैं ऐसी जगह जाके सीखूँ जहाँ पे जिस वे में मैं डायरेक्शन में मैं जाना चाहता हूँ एज एन आर्किटेक्ट, मेरे को वो मिलना चाहिए। आई वॉज नॉट थिंकिंग अबाउट मनी एंड somehow I didn't find that, so I thought ki theek hai, like, let me learn through the experiences of life. And I came back after my masters. I started North as a firm, but अकेला था, तो उस टाइम पे ऐसा तो था नहीं कुछ कि एक फर्म सेटअप करना है। एंड माय आइडिया वाज नॉट कि पहले आपको एक फर्म सेटअप करना पड़ेगा, आपको प्रोजेक्ट्स लेने पड़ेंगे। आई रियली वांटेड टू लर्न। तो मेरे दिमाग में पहले 2-3 साल तो यही थे दैट आई विल स्पेंड विद द विलेजर्स, आई विल गो बैक टू माय रूट्स, आई विल ट्राई टू रीलिव and kind of imbibe those values, and a lot of talking and conversation. I really wanted to understand ki ground level pe kya ho raha hai, and I wanted to build with my own hands, and I wanted to experience that kind of living, जिसके लिए जो हम जिसके I was definitely attracted towards this. I knew that okay, this has some kind of value which needs to be seen, but I wanted to live through that so that I can then definitely understand it and then move forward. So I started North. At North, we are right now we are tirelessly working towards balancing the cultural growth of the state, the cultural preservation, the environment and the sustainability of environment and living with nature, and the social development. So for me, I don't sometimes call myself as an architect also, because we are not limited only to build a building. We are not limited only to design and give it to some contractor. We are trying to holistically develop a better way of living, a better quality of living, and for the people of Himachal, because that's where I can relate to the most. And then the similar methodologies can be taken across the world, where we have the similar kind of climate, or we have similar kind of topography, and definitely wherever we want to use the wisdom of natural materials, there also we can apply such knowledge. And definitely it will have a little bit of a, let's say, differentiation in the context and the response to the culture and to the people, but the fundamentals can definitely be taken forward of working with wood and stone. And so we have developed a strong team, not just in an architecture background, but from product, from writing, from management, and we are getting people from furniture design, communication design, visual graphics, and I believe that when all the different artistic fields come together, the kind of result we will get, either it's like a house or a furniture piece, or like we are writing some kind of a research booklet which we want to give to the world. I think when all the different perspectives come in, that's where the real magic happens. And for us also, like the team is not just with the interns or with these different kind of professionals, but also the local craftspeople are a very important part of our team, and we have grown with them. I'll tell you the stories of how the team kind of got formed with the local craftspeople and everything. But it's very important part when we all are together, and when we are sharing a common vision of that kind of motivates everyone. Then you don't really need to tell them about the work, or then you realize the value of one house that you are building right now, that what kind of impact that house will create when people will come and see it. They will come and see that how stone reacts. Again, you are not just telling people, you are not just trying to write about it, or like speak about it, but more importantly your actions and your work kind of then showcases the values, right? So that's why we are working in many different fields. We are also trying to preserve the crafts, we are trying to document the old architecture, village settlements, the value systems. And through all of that, with every house we are building, with every project we are taking, it's like a like an experiment, and then we evolve through that experiment. We learn and we analyze what kind of mistakes we did, and through that we kind of grow again. And when we are looking at such traditional vernacular architecture, there is no other way. You have to jump into it, you have to build with it, and then I think you will get your real time solutions. See, this kind of architecture, if you look at it, this is beautiful. Like, like from my perspective, it's very tough for us to recreate the exact same temples and that heritage buildings, but definitely we have to preserve them, because आज की डेट में सेम स्केल का सेम प्रोपोर्शंस का बिल्डिंग बनाना बहुत मुश्किल है. सेकंड, आज की डेट में अब हमारी लाइफ भी चेंज हो चुकी है. आवर वेज ऑफ लिविंग आर डिफरेंट. So the temples we had, the castles we had, the old houses which we had, we have to preserve them. They are already timeless. They are already very strong. They have stood the test of time for hundreds of years, and they have that character. That character of wood and stone that was casted maybe 300 years back. It is our moral responsibility to preserve that. And after that, we want to learn the lessons from that, and through those lessons we have to innovate uh, systems for today's time. That is also a very simplified way of of looking at our practice. And I feel that this is a path which has not been traveled so much, but definitely for every architect, for every designer, this is something where they can definitely, this is much more of a struggle, but this will define your voice. As we started, and once you have that kind of a voice, I think then there is no stopping back, and you can develop it further and further. And in the times of this AI, when so many things are happening through a software, if we only learn to deliver what a software can do, then most probably हमारी जो आगे की नीड है आर्किटेक्ट्स की वो शायद कम भी हो जाएगी. बिकॉज अगर सॉफ्टवेयर ही सब कुछ कर देगा, पिंटरेस्ट पे आप अच्छी सी आप पूरा पूरा प्लान निकाल सकते हो, आप एलिवेशंस निकाल सकते हो, उसको आप अगर आप सॉफ्टवेयर में डाल दो एआई के थ्रू, आप अपने साइट स्पेसिफिक रेंडर्स निकाल देते हो उससे इंस्पायर होके. तो आर्किटेक्ट का काम कहाँ रह जाएगा? लाइक वेयर अ डिजाइनर प्लेज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट रोल इज the human factor which we bring in. The consciousness, the kind of response which is not coming through like only 10 parameters or 20, but it has a layer of parameters. It has a layer of culture, topography, climate, personal human values. And if we try to kind of bring that into the architecture, then I think we have that X factor which will take us a long way, right? Or else baki kaam to software kar hi raha hai. So definitely needed that we kind of follow this uncharted path, right? So the challenges of current construction, specifically about Himachal, is that I don't know, like architects maybe be aware of this kind of a solution, but बहुत सारे लोगों को पता ही नहीं है. हमको लगता है कि गाड़ियां ही सबसे ज्यादा pollution create कर रही है, and like the pollution that is coming out in smoke, that is what we feel कि अच्छा ये pollution है. But building industry is one of the largest contributors towards carbon emissions. We are almost 40% and growing very fast, very rapidly. And it starts from the cycle where the materials are getting prepared, and if you go and check out the major four materials which are being used is steel, concrete, brick, and wood. Wood has been one of the oldest material जो आज तक चल रहा है for building construction, but currently in last 50 years, बहुत ज़्यादा भी नहीं है, in last 50 years, 60 years only, the markets have kind of shifted our kind of entire perception from natural materials. हर चीज़ में हम natural material को गलत बताते हैं, और हमारे को जो दूसरे materials हैं उनको benefits दिखाने हैं. Because the industries are there, they are putting a lot of money in mining those resources, तो उसको उतना ही market भी करेंगे ही करेंगे. And definitely जैसे कि अभी फॉर जस्ट अ वेरी स्मॉल एग्जांपल हम बोलेंगे कि अच्छा टाइल लगा लो घर में क्योंकि लकड़ी सड़ जाएगी, पर उसके बेनिफिट्स और नेगेटिव्स हमारे को कोई बता नहीं रहा. हमारे को बस ये बता रहे हैं ठीक है लकड़ी पानी में खराब हो जाती है, टाइल कभी खराब नहीं होगी. पर ठीक है, ओके, गेट इट, बट दैट्स अ डेड मटेरियल which we are which is made out of cement, और वो सीमेंट को प्रोक्योर करने के लिए आप पूरी पूरी माइनिंग कर रहे हो, और वो माइनिंग करने के बाद आप, एंड दिस इज अ नॉन रिन्यूएबल रिसोर्स, ऑल द थ्री, if we are burning bricks, we are destroying the top layer of earth, and that takes thousands of years to form. उसमें फॉसिल्स वगैरह कितना टाइम लगता है, कंक्रीट सीमेंट के लिए लोगों को, आई डोंट नो कितनों को उस नॉलेज भी है एज अ कॉमन मैन, कि हमारा सीमेंट बनने के टाइम पे कितनी मैसिव स्केल पे माइनिंग और पोल्यूशन क्रिएट हो रहा है, उसके बाद उसको ट्रांसपोर्ट किया जा रहा है, जो लोग सीमेंट में काम करते हैं उनकी हेल्थ बिल्कुल खराब हो जाती है, आसपास का पूरा एरिया जहाँ माइनिंग होती है उनकी हेल्थ पे जनरेशन टू जनरेशन इम्पैक्ट होना स्टार्ट हो जाता है, and then we are using that material in our house, which is always emitting carbon, right? It is a carbon emitter. Rather, on the other side, if we look at wood, I definitely know, and we are trying very hard towards formulating policies and trying to see कि wood को हम कैसे balance out करें, but एक अच्छी opportunity है कि वो grow किया जा सकता है, और grow करने टाइम पे वो ऑक्सीजन देगा। तो अगर हम बहुत अच्छी एक बड़े एकड़ों के लैंड में, if we have to either put a factory or like we have to grow a forest, definitely from my angle growing a forest is a much better option than mining. uh, ये रिन्यूएबल है, इट कैन बी ग्रोन अगेन एंड अगेन एंड अगेन, एंड एक बड़ी अच्छी साइकिल बनाई जा सकती है, एंड देन डेफिनेटली किसी भी चीज़ को अगर आप सेचुरेशन पे करोगे तो वो खराब ही होगा। सो वी आर नॉट ट्राइंग टू से कि आप ओवर एक्सप्लॉइट करो अपने फॉरेस्ट या रिसोर्सेज को, बट you know as a material, if you are looking at it, then comparative to concrete, brick, steel, wood is much more better opportunity for us, and we have to plan it out in that way. We have to make systems for sustainable forestry, for balanced use of wood. और हमारे पुराने कल्चर में बहुत अच्छा था, लाइक लकड़ी को हम बहुत ज़्यादा मानते थे, आज भी उसकी वैसी वैल्यू है कि एक भी पेड़ काटने से पहले रिचुअल होता था, सोचा जाता था, एंड वुड while growing acts as a carbon storage, तो वो आपका कार्बन को स्टोर करता रहेगा, और जब आप उसको एक बिल्डिंग में लगाते हो, इट्स स्टिल अ ब्रीदेबल मटेरियल, it will not soak in more carbon, but it will act as a carbon storage. Second very important thing is that it has a level of breathability, hence the quality of life, the air, the softness of your materials on your body is really good in wood, stone, and mud, and that's why if you see the people from past, like their lives were more, and it does not only affect our physical body but also our mental, emotional moods. So उतना डेप्थ में तो आई डोंट नो हम अभी भी सोचते हैं या नहीं सोचते हैं, बट इट हैज़ अ लॉट ऑफ लेयर्स, एंड वी शुड डेफिनेटली नो दैट, तभी हम एज एन आर्किटेक्ट एक अच्छा सोल्यूशन दे पाएंगे लोगों को। For that purpose, what I started doing was that I started building houses. I started to learn the older methodologies, and उसको थोड़ा सा, let's say, revive करने के लिए we have to kind of update it also. तो आज के करंट सिस्टम में हम उसको कैसे और थोड़ा सा एडवांस कर सकते हैं, हम उसकी प्रोपोर्शंस और उसकी स्केल को कैसे और अच्छा कर सकते हैं ताकि हमारी आज की लाइफ के साथ वो सेट हो। हम मटेरियल को, क्रॉस सेक्शंस को ऑप्टिमाइज करें ताकि लकड़ी एक्स्ट्रा यूज ना हो, और जितनी मिनिमली रिक्वायर्ड है फॉर अ स्ट्रक्चरल स्ट्रेंथ उतना हो, और उसके रिसोर्सेज हैं, रिक्लेम्ड यूज़ करो, रीयूज़ करने की कोशिश करो, और उसके थ्रू ये जो अर्थक्वेक रेजिलिएंट जो हमारे स्ट्रक्चरल सिस्टम्स थे, वी आर ट्राइंग टू बिल्ड ऑन दैट नाउ, एंड फॉरेस्ट बिकम्स अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट रिसोर्स। तो इसीलिए हम लोग, एंड एनी वे, लाइक इन हिमाचल, यू कांट कट अ ट्री इन अ फॉरेस्ट, यू कांट जस्ट गो एंड कट एनी ट्री एंड यूज इट, देर आर लॉट ऑफ परमिशंस दैट आर रिक्वायर्ड even before cutting a tree through the forest department, and you get um, the wood either by the forest depot or from the licensed depots, जहाँ पे फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट जंगलों में जाके they collect the fallen wood, and they have this kind of a method where they grow a certain amount of deodar trees, and then they take out a small percentage of that, which after years of growth they cut. तो वो एक थोड़ा सा सस्टेनेबल फॉरेस्ट्री का मॉडल हिमाचल में वर्क कर रहा है, but it can be promoted and it can be relooked और उसको हम थोड़ा सा और बेटर कर सकते हैं. फॉर दैट, from last 3 years after COVID, we specially dedicated one of our kind of, one part of our team is working only on collection of data of trees, of forest areas, and how we can make it, better towards because that long term solution ke liye, that is very important. And meanwhile, in our projects, we are trying to use as much as the reclaimed sources of wood from old houses and from other resources. So a basic journey, like I started with this masters in Himalayan architecture. I got an old house, the green one, which you can see in the center. This dark thing was like my small cabin where I used to sit, write, and I was in that nature, and I was feeling the materials, and the air was different because it was wood and mud. So I think that has kind of inspired me, and like towards more working towards such things. I talked to a lot of local people. I come from Himachal only, not exactly from Kullu region, but my roots are from Shimla and from Kangra. But we have been living in Kullu, and somehow I felt a connection here because of also the cultural preservation. The culture, you can really feel and see and live the culture here, and there's a lot of hope in the valley that we can revive this. We can take this forward. So we started learning by making. The idea was not to just theoretically research, but this was my moment where after my masters I could now work with my own hands. And so I restored this house with help of my fellow CEPT से दोस्त आ रहे थे, NID से दोस्त आ रहे थे, and we were living there. We were trying to understand how the nature, we could feel that, and we were also trying to experiment with nature, and we started farming because food say, I feel that it starts from your food, then it starts how you are experiencing things, and then the reflection. For me in this journey, the first lesson, or one of the most important lesson, was to earn people rather than focusing on earning money. At that time पैसे तो थे भी नहीं देने को किसी को, तो मेरे लिए वो एक बहुत ही अच्छा, आई से दैट इट वाज अ गिफ्ट फ्रॉम द यूनिवर्स, दैट आई गॉट टू मीट beautiful human beings who kind of supported me, who gave me a lot of knowledge also, and shared their experiences, became a part of what I was trying to do, and that's how North got, established in a way with the people, and that thing have changed my perspective towards everything in life. That it is so important to have a very good relationship with the people around you. Our teams, they are not working here for money, they are working for the vision. The people who have joined me in this are not just for like a job. It's not a job for them, but we are on a mission together, and everybody is playing a role. Either they are educated, non-educated, or they have an architecture background or not, but they all are working towards this common holistic vision of having a better quality of life, a flourishing life, a happy, fulfilling life. You know, in this way, we started doing a lot of workshops. I started sharing the knowledge with local students, with budding architects. We started documenting villages around. We started cleaning the forests around. क्योंकि ऐसा कोई एक स्पेसिफिक, शुरू के 2-3 साल तो कोई ज़्यादा प्रोजेक्ट्स थे ही नहीं. आई वॉज जस्ट वर्किंग, एंड बिकॉज ऑफ जो भी हम लोग वॉलंटियर वगैरह कर रहे थे, वी यूज टू पिच इन मनी टुगेदर, एंड विद दैट मनी वी वर बेसिकली, हमारा मतलब खाना पीना और रहना हो पा रहा था. हमें ये पुराना घर मुझे मिला था फ्रॉम फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट टू रिस्टोर. वी वर लिविंग देयर, वी वर रिस्टोरिंग इट, एंड वी वर एक्सपेरिमेंटिंग, एंड वी वर ट्राइंग टू शेयर दैट नॉलेज. और ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा उस टाइम पे फोकस यही था कि हम जितना सीख सकते हैं और जितना शेयर कर सकते हैं वो करें, एंड डॉक्यूमेंट करें इन कंटेंट, इन फॉर्म, इन प्रोसेस. वी हैव टू डॉक्यूमेंट the architecture, the crafts, the values. And I started hosting workshops. This was the house which I started restoring first. पहली बार मतलब I would say after masters, तब तक मैंने कभी मिट्टी को छू के प्लास्टर किया ही नहीं था। पूरा 5 साल आर्किटेक्चर के भी निकल गए, उसके बाद 2 साल मास्टर के भी निकल गए, बट कभी मिट्टी को पकड़ के प्लास्टर किया ही नहीं था, तो आपको पता ही नहीं चलेगा कि एग्ज़ैक्टली हाउ 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 टू डू दैट एंड व्हाट काइंड ऑफ प्रोपोर्शंस। यू कांट लर्न इट कि अच्छा इतने परसेंट क्ले, इतना परसेंट सैंड। जब तक आप करोगे नहीं रियल टाइम, मतलब मिट्टी तो हर 15 किलोमीटर पे चेंज हो रही है, तो आपको एक्सपेरिमेंट करके ही पता लगेगा। एंड आई नो दैट everyone who has been a part of a natural building, studio or a practice, they would agree कि हर जगह का इतना डिफरेंट कॉन्टेक्स्ट और इतनी डिफरेंट मिट्टी और रिसोर्सेज होते हैं कि आपको उसको एक्सपेरिमेंट करके ही पता लगेगा। और अगर हम सिर्फ एक किसी कारीगर को बुला के भी वो काम करवा दें, तो हम अपने पर्पस पे पहुंच ही नहीं पाएंगे कभी। लाइक वी हैव टू लर्न इट टू देन स्टार्ट इवॉल्विंग इट एंड सीइंग की प्रॉब्लम्स क्या है। एज अ आर्किटेक्ट आई एम टेलिंग, इवन बिफोर वी स्टार्ट डिजाइनिंग विद सच मटेरियल्स, एंड फॉर मी इट बिकेम अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट काइंड ऑफ अ मिशन कि मैं लोगों तक ये बात पहुंचाऊं। और उसके लिए हम लोग जो भी वर्कशॉप्स करते थे, मैंने मैंने महिला मंडलों को बुलाना स्टार्ट किया, मैंने लोकल जो यूथ ग्रुप्स होते हैं, स्कूल्स होते हैं, उनको बुलाना, गवर्नमेंट ऑफिसर्स को बुलाना स्टार्ट किया कि आप देखो कि हम क्या कर रहे हैं। पुराने आर्किटेक्चर की वैल्यू क्या थी, और वो सिर्फ आर्किटेक्चर तक लिमिटेड नहीं था, उसमें हमारी लाइफ बंधी हुई थी, and we have to take that forward. So and in that way, um, from the universe side, we started getting lot of media who wanted to cover this. उससे पहले आई डोंट नो काटकुनी का कितना नाम था, पर मतलब एक चीज तो जो फर्स्ट स्टेप था कि हमने एस्टेब्लिश तो किया कि काटकुनी काटकुनी एकदम से चल पड़ा, और मतलब सारे आर्किटेक्चर यूनिवर्सिटीज में अब मतलब काटकुनी तो पता ही है कि हिमाचल का एक आर्किटेक्चर सिस्टम है जो काटकुनी है और धज्जी दीवारी है। तो ये हम अभी आई थिंक हमने वो एक एस्टेब्लिश तो कर पाए। एंड एंड हम डॉक्यूमेंट कर रहे हैं विलेजेस को। वी आर डूइंग अ लॉट ऑफ रिसर्च because that is much needed in India, and then we are experimenting with that research, और वहाँ से जो रियल टाइम हमारे को रीडिंग्स आ रही हैं, इन्फ्लुएंसेस आ रहे हैं, वी आर ट्राइंग टू ऐड दैट। वी आर ऑल्सो ट्राइंग टू पुश through not just architecture projects, but also through craft projects, through furnitures, through we have honey, we have apricot oil, we have this beeswax ka candles which we experimented with. जो भी हमारी indigenous wisdom थी local resources की, we are trying to bring that all together. So getting down to the basics very directly, this was one of the first projects which we kind of entirely did within ourselves. इससे पहले हम लोग डिजाइन करते थे, बट थोड़ा थोड़ा साथ में we were a part of some part of the construction. But doing this was one of the first projects where we designed plus built, and it was in COVID times when we built this dhajjicabin. And एक अलग ही है, like experience है when you even see it in the picture, when you come and like you kind of go through this house. It's a very simple nostalgic, जैसे हम बचपन में अगर घर बनाने को किसी बच्चे को दोगे तो वो ऐसे ऊपर एक छोटी सी स्लोपिंग रूफ बनाएगा, एक दरवाजा और एक छोटी खिड़की बनाएगा, that is it, but it has that material and you will feel that different energy when you come inside. Definitely it is climate responsive, earthquake resilient, वो सब कुछ है, पर ये एक ह्यूमन लेवल पे व्हेन द हाउस रिस्पॉन्ड्स टू अस, इट्स अ वेरी डिफरेंट फीलिंग। इट कैन नॉट कम बाय ओनली प्लास्टरिंग मड, इट कैन नॉट कम बाय लाइक डूइंग सम लकड़ी का ऐसा फ्रेम, मतलब ऊपर से चिपका के कोई फायदा नहीं होगा। दिस इज द रियल थिंग, दिस इज द मेन ऑथेंटिक थिंग, एंड इट इज मच मोर रिफाइंड वर्जन ऑफ धज्जी दीवारी एज अ टेक्निक। हमारे से पहले रॉरिक ने नग्गर में ही यूज किया था। रॉरिक का घर बना हुआ है 1860s में, तो 1860 से आज तक इट हैज़ सर्वाइव्ड, एंड देर आर बिल्डिंग्स इन शिमला। ब्रिटिशर्स ने आके धज्जी दीवारी और काटकुनी को लर्न किया और उसको अपने कॉलोनियल आर्किटेक्चर के एस्थेटिक्स के साथ मिला के दे हैव यूज्ड द नॉलेज। बट हमने, जब हमारे पास बारी आई डेवलप करने की, तो ये सारा कुछ भुला दिया और कच्चा मकान की कैटेगरी में डाल दिया, और सीमेंट को हमने प्रमोट किया, इंडस्ट्रीज़ को हमने हमारी स्टेट्स में बुलाया, सब्सिडाइज कर दिया ये सारे इंडस्ट्रीज़ के मटेरियल को। एंड उसके बाद तो मार्केटिंग है, जिसने मतलब हर बार एवरी वे में वर्नैक्युलर आर्किटेक्चर या लोकल मिट्टी के घरों को मतलब हमारी एस्पायरेशंस में से ही निकाल दिया है। Like, now we don't think that a good house can be built with natural materials. या मिट्टी के घर सुनते ही हमारे को लगता है कि पता नहीं क्या हट टाइप की चीज होगी, you know. But we wanted to change that perception with this. So we wanted to break some myths which were associated with natural building. And one of the first myths was that, such houses are a low standard of living. But अभी हम लोगों ने ये बनाया है, people come and experience it, people come and live in it through Airbnb, and they experience that luxurious life, not luxury in the true sense, where it is much more healthier to live inside, where it responds to the climate, and it is a better quality of living finally. It's not a low standard of living. Second was that एज अ लेमैन लोगों को ये लगता है कि शायद इसमें मॉडर्न एम्यूनिटीज फिट नहीं हो पाएंगी। अगर जब हम लकड़ी वगैरह के घर देखते हैं तो हमें लगे, हम ऐसा सोचते हैं, एंड आई हैव मेट अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल हु टेल मी कि शायद लकड़ी के घर तो ऐसे डार्क ही रहेंगे अंदर से, उनकी हाइट वगैरह वैसी रहेगी, उसमें छोटी छोटी खिड़कियां होती हैं, हमें बड़ी खिड़कियां चाहिए। आई एग्री, एंड लाइक वी वांटेड टू शो कि ये सब पॉसिबल है, लाइक लकड़ी पत्थर मिट्टी से ही। तो लाइक दिस बिकेम अ एग्जाम्पल फॉर दैट कि how you can reclaim. Number one, it has been used, entire thing is from a reclaimed house. So everything was upcycled, reused, and it has that character, but it has all the modern amenities which a person can think of in a luxurious house. And 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 people come and pay for it, like, by living here in Airbnb. That means they are getting that value more than a normal hotel room, or a guest house of concrete, built in concrete. You can fetch that much, like three times more the amount by building with wood and stone. And this is so much easier for a villager to build like this. उनके पास तो पहले से ही सारी नॉलेज है, मटेरियल है, काम भी खुद ही करते हैं वो, तो उनके लिए तो और आसान है ये चीज़ बनाना। सेकंड अदर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग वाज कि हमारे को लगता है ये वीक स्ट्रक्चर्स हैं। सब लोगों को ये लगता है अब कि आरसीसी इज सो स्ट्रांग कि वही हमको चाहिए होगा। इधर अभी आप गवर्नमेंट ऑफ हिमाचल में ही देख लो, कोई भी बिल्डिंग का अगर आपने टेंडर करना है या गवर्नमेंट के साथ ऑथराइज, या जो हमारा टाउन एंड कंट्री प्लानिंग होता है, दे 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 हैव कैटेगराइज्ड सच हाउसेज इन टेम्परेरी कंस्ट्रक्शन। उनको मतलब ये लगता है कि दिस इज लाइक अ वीकर स्ट्रक्चर देन आरसीसी। दैट इज ऑल्सो वन ऑफ आर इग्नोरेंस ओनली विच वी हैव डन। सो मतलब माई आइडिया इज कि हमें इसको वापस पॉलिसीज में डालना है, इस तरह की कंस्ट्रक्शन मेथडोलॉजीज को हमको वो रिस्पेक्ट दिलानी है वापस, दैट दे हैव दिस resilient structural system, and we have to kind of bring it back towards thing. The last very important thing is the cost. Everybody thinks that they are very expensive to build with wood and stone. पर अगर हम when we break down the entire process, और हमने यही किया during this construction, कि मेरे पास भी अपनी पर्सनल सेविंग थी when we were trying to build this for ourselves, and I was looking at it in this way that it should be the most cost effective, but cost effective बनाने के चक्कर में हम इसके स्ट्रक्चर को और फंडामेंटल प्रिंसिपल्स को ना चेंज करें। सो वी डिफाइन द बैलेंस दैट ओके दिस कैन बी कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव बट दिस नीड्स टू बी डन प्रॉपरली एज वेल। तो उस तरह से वी हैव अचीव्ड, एंड वी आर बिल्डिंग इट in comparison to RCC structures. Now we are building it in almost a similar range, and that's a very big step because लोगों को आज तक यही लगता था कि ये आरसीसी से 2 या 3 गुना ज़्यादा एक्सपेंसिव होगा। It is a little more expensive because it is not as cheap as brick. It is not as cheap as the mason rates for the construction. It is much more artistic job. It is much more beneficial. But जो इसका थोड़ा सा ज़्यादा प्राइस भी आता है, वो आपको बैलेंस आउट करता है बिकॉज इसकी लाइफ बहुत ज़्यादा है। इसके द क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ इज इवन मोर, एंड द रीयूजेबिलिटी फैक्टर ऑफ ऑल द मटेरियल्स इज सो मच। आप पूरा पत्थर और लकड़ी रीयूज कर सकते हो, 3 बार 4 बार रीयूज कर सकते हो। तो the investment which you are putting in as a material investment into your building is so safe and can be reinvested again and again. On the contrary, अगर आप कंक्रीट को देखेंगे, वो एक बार डिमोलिश करोगे आप 50 साल के बाद, you will have to spend extra money to kind of dispose it off somewhere. And from an environment perspective, where will you dispose that? उसको वो कभी भी वापस धरती में मिलने नहीं वाला है। तो आप उसको डिस्पोज कहाँ करोगे? और आप इमेजिन करो आपकी पूरी की पूरी सिटी जिनमें अगर 50 साल के बाद वो लाइफ ऑफ दैट बिल्डिंग विल बी लेट्स से अनसेफ, तो इतना सारा कंक्रीट कहाँ डालने वाले हैं हम? आई रियली फील कि वो हम लोग भूल ही जाते हैं एज आर्किटेक्ट्स ऑल्सो, वी डोंट वैल्यू दैट। एंड दिस इज सो इम्पोर्टेंट, यू नो, लाइक अगर आप अभी हिमाचल में देखेंगे, ऑलमोस्ट 50 साल पहले ये सारी बिल्डिंग्स बनी हुई थी, अब ये सारा मलबा होगा, वो कहाँ डालेंगे हम? और वो कहाँ जाएगा? यू नो, दैट इज़ अ वेरी बिग कंसर्न फॉर मी। ऑन द अदर हैंड, ये लकड़ी पत्थर के घर हैं, आप बढ़िया इसको खोल सकते हो, लेगो स्टाइल के होते हैं, जॉइनरी बेस्ड होते हैं, आप इनको आराम से खोलो, एक दूसरी जगह लेके जाओ, वहाँ पे आप इनको फिर से लगाओ, एंड यू कैन यूज़ द मटेरियल, एंड जो आपकी लैंड थी जहाँ पे आपने ये घर बनाया था, you can again farm on that land, you know, you can cultivate farming there, and उससे ज़्यादा ब्यूटीफुल और कुछ है नहीं, मतलब, you know, the least impact on environment in a way. So this basically, this experiment of ours became a benchmark of not just, you know, architecture or the technique, but also how it influences our life and how it influences our thoughts. And it became, it broke all these different myths which people have, and it became like a benchmark and an example of that. And now when we are building more projects, we are using such knowledge systems. And for that, this is what I say, that we are sowing the seeds for future from the campus we have in Himachal. This is like a vision plan for the new campus which I am building right now, on a little bit of a larger piece of land. That, you know, north is basically like a center for learning, where we are doing architecture projects, we are doing real time research and experimentation. We are also trying to share it with the people who are traveling to Himachal. They can come and live in this campus with us, and they can understand these values. They can live through these values and experiences, and then they get motivated to, you know, towards the change in their life. You know, that's why we are trying to have this kind of a campus where it speaks for itself. And uh, and, and you know, that is one of my major vision, that how we can start the changes through these regional centers, क्योंकि आपको कॉन्टेक्स्ट की नॉलेज करना बड़ी ज़रूरी है, एंड यू हैव टू बी परमानेंटली हेयर। हम ऐसा एक छोटा सा रिसर्च प्रोजेक्ट करेंगे और वापस चले जाएंगे और उस पर एक बुक लिख दें, या एक रिसर्च पेपर पब्लिश कर दिया, उससे कोई इम्पैक्ट नहीं होने वाला। यू हैव टू बी हेयर, यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड, यू हैव टू गो थ्रू चैलेंज वन बाय वन, एंड यू हैव टू काइंड ऑफ देन start doing and giving solutions. तो हमने रिसर्च किया, lot of documentation, we are publishing a lot of data, which whatever we are trying to learn. We are conducting a lot of workshops for architecture students to kind of get the first interaction with such architecture, and then you know, if that is in their thought, तो वो भी धीरे धीरे शायद इस डायरेक्शन में सोचना स्टार्ट करें. We are working not only with the craftspeople in the sense of building, but also in the sense of art. So carving for me is very important, क्योंकि उसमें हमारे नरेटिव्स थे, उसमें हमारी विजडम थी जो कि आगे जानी चाहिए. वी आर वर्किंग विद कंटेम्प्रेरी आर्टिस्ट, वी होल्ड artist residency programs where, you know, the artists who are established, they come and collaborate with local craftspeople, and then it's an exchange for, they learn from the craftspeople learn from those artists. And I feel art reaches much more than a building. You know, it's very important in terms of reach also. We are trying to train a lot of youth of Himachal uh, to get motivated and to work towards such kind of crafts. I'm writing a book right now, which has been sponsored by Godrej Design Lab Fellowship, and it was very nice because they asked me that, you know, what is the next step which you want to take, and we want to support that. And it's a very big thing, you know, when it comes, and I'm, you know, like, or else like कि अगर मैं ये book मैं बहुत time से लिखना चाह रहा था कि to kind of bring together not just architecturally but all these values which we are talking, and you know, this fellowship like put a timeline to that, and वो बड़ी अच्छी चीज हो गई, because now that will you know come into action, and I'm working on, and this book will be launched in December in Bombay at Godrej campus, and looking forward to that. uh, this book will also become a part of, you know, the larger vision to motivate the young architects and people who are wanting to build a more conscious life for themselves. This is one of our projects, uh, very first project where the client came in and he told us that that this is they want a hotel kind of a thing in a forest, but we suggested that rather than 10 rooms, let's just build like three small cabins. And you can, and then he had a old Kath Kuni house that was lying there. They were using it for storage, and I told them, okay, let's use it. And something matched, and we also experimented with that for the first time. And we created and we took the entire house, the raw material from that. We had to put in a little bit of a new material into it, and then very economically we could finish this project with such scale. And these buildings will last for 200 years, so it's a really great investment. This is another cabin which we are building, exploring the material potential in different forms and shapes. Like we are taking the structure of a dhajjicabin, uh, the knowledge of that joineries and that cross braced systems, but then also experimenting with the art side. How it can merge with your landscapes, how it can influence and create more better lighting inside. This is another house which is a residential kind of a residential project, but again this is based on Kath Kuni technique. We have optimized the use of wood. Half of the walls are load bearing, uh, but this was done 3 years back, so there is some amount of concrete that has also been used in the levels where it is double story. But at that time we couldn't uh, uh, kind of explain to the clients that that the structure will last, and we can easily make such spans. uh, तो उस टाइम पे थोड़ा सा था, बट लाइक दैट्स हाउ वी लर्न. तो इस प्रोजेक्ट में जहाँ पे भी ये डबल स्टोरी है वहाँ पे देयर इज अ कॉलम बीम स्ट्रक्चर, बट ऑल द अदर सिंगल स्टोरी यूनिट्स आर अ लोड बेयरिंग. वो एंड नाउ वी ऑल एग्री टू दैट. इवन द क्लाइंट्स हु फॉर विच वी आर बिल्डिंग दिस हाउस, वो भी अब एग्री करते हैं कि नहीं यार, ये कंक्रीट का हमने एक्स्ट्रा ही कर दिया. लाइक हम चला सकते थे ऐसे भी. एंड दैट्स हाउ आई थिंक now the word will spread. This is another temple which we have built in Ahmedabad. For us it was a way of showcasing the level of Himachali craftsmanship to the world. It has been built on an, this is a 60 feet from like base to top, but अगर आप plinth से देखेंगे तो almost 56-54 feet होगा. And the top is done with the brass metal work. There are a lot of carvings which are involved, and the slate stone was brought for the roof from Himachal. The wood which has been used here is a local wood from Ahmedabad, and 15 of our karigars went there. 90 days from bottom to top we built the entire. And I am so proud of my like karigars, because हमने सोचा भी नहीं था. आज की डेट में भी अगर हम सोचें कि अच्छा इतना बड़ा मंदिर बनाना है, तो हमको लगेगा कि यार 2 साल लगते होंगे एक ऐसा मंदिर बनाने में. पर हमने उसको अगर 3 महीने में बनाया है, 90 डेज वर्किंग डेज, थोड़ा बहुत ऊपर था, बट दैट गिव्स अस अ न्यू होप दैट कि ऐसा नहीं है, दिस कैन बी डन. एंड इट इज being shown through the work, not by saying. A lot of different architecture magazines have kind of covered us, and this I feel fortunate for, क्योंकि ये हमारे कंट्रोल में नहीं. हमारे कंट्रोल में काम करना और अच्छे से ग्रो करना और सीखना. बाकी जो आपको सामने से मिलना है वो आपके कंट्रोल में नहीं है. सो लाइक आई बिलीव इन दैट अपना कर्म करो और फल की इच्छा मत करो. सो वी आर डेडिकेटेडली वर्किंग टुवर्ड्स दैट. एंड देन ऑटोमेटिकली, बिकॉज दिस इज समथिंग विच इज वेरी ट्रू, इसमें हमको कुछ भी ऊपर से लगाना नहीं पड़ रहा है या शो नहीं करना पड़ रहा है. इट हैज़ अ लॉट ऑफ मीनिंग फॉर लाइफ. दिस इज राइट फॉर द पीपल, एंड दिस डेफिनेटली, तो ये अपने आप आगे बढ़ रही है ये चीज़, इसको हमें प्रमोट करना भी नहीं पड़ रहा है. Lastly, it is about giving back to the people, to these kids. I feel that I have a huge responsibility कि मैं आगे अपने younger generations को inspire करूं और उनको सिखाऊं और उनको मैं aware करूं towards design, towards art, towards architecture. And then women of the village, they are so hardworking. They are, we call them like pirates of the mountains, because they look like hardcore. And they are very strong. They are working on the craft, they are working on the field. And if we can educate them, and if we can like give them some kind of a power by so we do this design का छोटा छोटा सा workshops with them, और उसके बाद it's their creative energy, they can take it forward. um, we are mentoring different school kids, क्योंकि मतलब when I was in 12th I didn't knew कि architecture भी कुछ होता है. uh, तो हमें उनको अवेयर करना है कि these fields exist, you can choose design as a field, and that is very important. So we are mentoring them on projects, and then most important thing is to kind of motivate the young craftspeople, the young youth from the villages, कि हम ये craft को as a profession बनाएं. And they take me as a brother, so we are not like a architect जो किसी कारीगर को समझा रहा है और उनसे काम करवा रहा है, बट वी ऑल आर लाइक एक्सपेरिमेंटिंग. अगर वो नहीं होंगे तो हम ये काम कभी एक्सपेरिमेंट ही नहीं कर पाएंगे, और अगर मैं उनको साथ नहीं ला पाया और उनको अवेयर नहीं करवा पाया, तब भी वो कभी अपने आप से ये काम शायद ना ही कर पाते या मौका ही नहीं मिलना था. So we all are like coming together and doing this, which is really important. And our elders are feeling happy, contained, satisfied by seeing कि चलो पुरानी चीजें वापस आ रही हैं, because they know the value of it. हर कोई समझा नहीं पाता है कि उसमें hidden value क्या है, but then they know the value and they are feeling happy. The younger generations are getting inspired towards this. Nothing better than that. This is what motivates me, and I feel that our future is in making. It is in our hands, and literally it's in our hands, to kind of uh, build our future in the way we want it. And that's what North is doing. And I feel that this is what an architect should do in the life, that they should kind of learn from their context. They should go back to their roots, because that is what I think that has been imbibed in them while growing up. And then take a step to restore it, to revive it, to promote it, understand it, and and make a better world for people to live in. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Rahul, for this wonderful presentation. I think all the time during your presentation, I was literally hooked to the screen that, okay, what is going to come next in the presentation now? So it was a
And
really wonderful presentation, and I admire the kind of work that you're doing, which is not really only about building things, but taking things from your past, learning things from the past, and involving the whole community around it. I mean, I think that is what architecture has been about
yeah,
taking people along with you and giving back to the society.
yeah,
So thank you so much for this wonderful presentation, and I admire
thank,
your journey and all the work that you are doing, and I hope that this continues and this reaches to the right people, and we
yes.
can see a better future for everyone.
हाँ जी, नहीं बहुत बढ़िया. Yeah, thank you.